If you don't watch anything else today, let it just be this, okay? President Trump in Michigan, a protester calls him out, and he just says, F you, right back at him, and then, flips him off. Because, you know what? He doesn't care. He's president now for 3 more years. And I just have to say that picture, that right there, that's my president. Welcome back to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. That's like one of my favorite things that's ever. I have stuff to talk to you about, I know, but that's just one of my favorite things that President Trump has ever done. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Like that's the energy. That's the vibe. That is how we all need to treat these scum, ghoulish leftists who want to protest President Trump making this country better. That's how we need to treat it, with the respect it deserves, which is none, actually. Now, speaking of making our country better, making America great again, it's literally what he's doing. He has, obviously, we've watched the left cry about it. They're melting down because he is stopping the flow of illegal immigration. He's closing the borders. He's packing all these illegals up onto a plane. Actually, funny story on that. Steven just showed me yesterday. Steven, was it yesterday that you showed me the plane? It was like this big, huge jet, and it was full of deportees that they were flying out of the country.
Yeah, I think that was yesterday.
And he showed it to me, and I was like, is it just me, or are you getting turned on just by watching this? Like, I was like, whew, it's hot in here, Steven. Show me more.
I'm pretty sure they were from Minnesota, too, so.
Say less. My gosh. How much longer do I have on this show? I gotta go. So it's like so beautiful to watch. And, obviously there's more to be done. I get it. But he can't get 20 million people out. It's probably even more than that. He can't get that many people out all at once. I get it. And also, I would too say, you can't just stop with the illegals. There's a huge problem with the legal immigration system too. Well, guess what? President Trump's working on that as well. Help is on the way. President Trump, here we go. Trump administration indefinitely pauses immigrant visa processing for 75 nations. Authorities said the action aims to crack down on immigrants the Trump administration believes are likely to become, this is the key point here, guys, likely to become reliant on public benefits. It's not about the color of their skin. It's not about even what religion they are, which I kind of wish it was. It's about whether or not they will be a drain on the welfare system. If you are coming to this country, expect to put in more than you take out. So this is for countries, Brazil, Iran, Russia, Somalia. Your days are numbered. Your days are numbered. Unless you can contribute more. Well, if you're from Somalia, you're not going to. If you got the light bulb head, I got to imagine you're not going to give more than you are going to take. Due to the fact that, your brain don't work good. Listen, don't blame me. Blame the IQ tests. That's not me. That's the IQ tests. And also them for the inbreeding. But anywho, I know the left is melting down right now. I know that they're crying their liberal tears. And while they taste delicious, I just would like to just remind them that even the Democrats have agreed that this immigration system that we currently have has been broken for literal decades, including everyone's favorite hyena.
There are people there that are stressed, that feel that they're at capacity. Communities around the country that have legal immigration, many have said, we're at capacity. And many feel like the government has said to them, well, adapt, sit down, be quiet. This is how it is. What would a Harris administration do for those communities who've taken in many, many legal immigrants but are at capacity?
Well, first of all, we do have a broken immigration system, and it needs to be fixed.
Really? Great. I'm glad that we can agree on that. I am so glad that we can agree on that. And you answer that way while the woman is saying, hey, is there like a max? Is there a capacity? Like in a building, you have a max capacity. And if you hit the max capacity, the fire station is called. Like you can get in big trouble if you hit the max, if you go over max capacity. What if you just go over max capacity in an entire country? What, like, are we going to do something about that? Well, actually. Actually, yes. Yes, it is a problem. We do have a broken immigration system. Great. I'm so glad that we can agree on that. Now, obviously, we need to go further, but okay, we'll take the pause on immigrant visas. What else we need to do is blow up non-immigrant visas too. Now, you might be asking, what is the difference? Especially if you're an American. I get it. Before I started looking into this, I was like, I'm just a privileged American. I don't understand this visa system you talk about. I never have to deal with it. I don't care to understand the complexities of the visa system. Actually, you should, because we need to understand what we're dealing with and what we actually need to push to have fixed. So an immigrant visa it's issued to a person who wants to live permanently in the United States. Right off the bat, that's what they're saying. I just want to move. I just want to be there permanently. Non-immigrant visa is given to a person who does plan to go back to their home country. But the point of the non-immigrant visa is it's a temporary basis for several, it's like tourism, medical treatment, business, temporary work, or study, as just sort of examples of what that non-immigrant visa would be. So it's almost like you're making a declarative statement when you apply for the visa. I want this to be permanent or I don't. But there are big problems with the system, because one of the best examples that I can give you of the non-immigrant visa is the H-1B visa. Now, the H-1B visa is a real freaking problem, guys. Okay, they're giving out at least 65,000 of these every single year. And this is the visa that is supposed to. The point of this is to bring in people who have this very specialized skill set. The best and the brightest. It's very, very, very unique, very hard to find. The point is we literally can't find American talent in this specific skill set. We can only get it from this one place, which just so happens to usually be India. But we can only get it from one place. It's this very specialized engineer, very specialized, like Department of Defense contract. It's like these very, supposed to be a niche thing. But a lot of these visas are not going to a very specialized skill set. It's not going to the best and the brightest. It's literally just taking jobs away from Americans. They're very American jobs. Let me give you from Indiana State Representative Andrew Ireland. Taxpayer-funded Purdue University disclosed it is hiring a foreigner on an H-1B visa to teach marketing. Because, he says, does anyone seriously believe no American in the Chicago area can teach marketing for $127,500 a year? The same university even has a PhD program for marketing students. Gosh, we couldn't find any American who had the ability to teach marketing of all places. We got to go to India. So this is a big problem. And by the way, an even bigger problem that it is a non-immigrant visa. It's supposed to be used for temporary work. That's not how they're treating it. They use it. They come in here. They keep renewing it. And then they just move here permanently. That's a huge flaw in the non-immigrant visa system, and it needs to be fixed. Now, I will say the good news on this is President Trump did put a $100,000 fee on those type of visas to slow down the flow and to make sure that they are going to the right people. You're going to need to put some capital into this. You're going to need to show us that you really mean it. You want to come here and provide a really specialized skill set? You're going to need to show us that you really mean it. Now, I love that. And I love that energy. In fact, can we get the vibes? I need a vibe check from President Trump on just how we feel about all of these people coming into our country and taking advantage of our resources. Not anymore. Not anymore. That's the vibes for all of these immigrants coming in here and stealing American jobs. That's how I feel. Now, we still need to go a step further. Again, I get it. We need to stair step. We need to baby step. That's fine. But I'm just saying we don't stop here. Okay. I also love Senator Marsha Blackburn's vibes because now she and some other Senate Republicans are pushing to deport and denaturalize fraudsters amid the Minnesota scandal. So she's leading this bill that is going to deport illegal immigrants and strip citizenship from naturalized Americans, naturalized citizens convicted of fraud. Sure, you can go through the steps. If you qualify, we can naturalize you. Now, I would argue we shouldn't be doing that in a great majority of these cases, but sure, don't think that stops. You signed a piece of paper, and if you don't hold up your end of the bargain, we can just ship you on out. Now, this also would be her bill, retroactive going back to 1996. So if you've come into this country and you are committing crime to rip off Americans, I think if you're committing crime, just generally speaking, not just ripping off Americans, but including stealing our taxpayer money, ripping us off, committing fraud, you just don't deserve to be here. You just should go home. You don't belong here. So we'll see if Democrats get on board with this.
Do you expect any Senate Democrats to support this?
I would be honored to have them support it, and I think they should support it. When you look at, why would anybody be pro-fraud?
She says that, and God bless her. I agree with the sentiment. Why would anyone, unless you are retarded, you would not be pro-fraud? However, might I just posit a little theory? Unfortunately, Senator, they are retarded. And they are fine with fraud because we saw how they acted when Elon Musk came into the building and was like, oh, $3 billion of fraud here, $10 billion of fraud here. It turns out there's a whole lot of taxpayer money that's being totally wasted that doesn't have to be that way. And they were like, no. So I agree with her in sentiment. However, in practice, I don't think you're going to have any Democrats on board with you rooting out the fraud. That's how far they're gone. Now, on top of all of this, we've had this, again, I know we're all privileged Americans, so I don't know if you guys realize there is the green card lottery system that they have, and that gives up to 50,000 immigrant visas to just random people who apply around the world. Like I kid you not. Like it's literally like like you play the lottery, you just go buy a ticket and you're like, ooh, I hope I win. We just do that. We just allow that. Its official name is, I'm not even kidding, the Diversity Visa Lottery. It's DEI, a DEI lottery system for the whole world to come to this country. That's just a bad idea. I don't think I need to sell you on why that's a bad idea. Now, President Trump put that on pause late last year. Now, you're like, well, why? What finally got him to do that? Oh, well, just because the Brown University shooter came into the country through that program. It turns out a diversity lottery system where we're just like letting people like apply and like, ooh, I hope I get it. And then what are they like constantly refreshing their screen? Like you're going to buy tickets on Ticketmaster and you're like, did I get in? Did I get in? Did I get in? It turns out there are some people who could fall through the cracks on that system. Maybe they should have some sort of investment in coming here and bringing something worthwhile, bringing something valuable. Now, I will just end with this. As we move into the midterms and as we move into, I don't know, literally any future election, don't think for a second. I mean, President Trump is doing a lot of this just like unilaterally by way of his executive orders or by way of just he is the top executive and this is how he is changing things. He doesn't necessarily need it. But there are a lot of things that once the Democrats get back in power, they can just bring it all back. In fact, they'll double it. just to spite us, just to spite Orange Man bad until we're at max capacity. And then, even then, let me just tell you, they're not going to call the fire department. I can promise you that, okay? Make sure to share the show online with a friend on your email list. However, smash the like button, comment. It'll help us in the algorithm, which we all know is stacked against us. And do make sure that you're subscribed here, Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Well, I do realize you're probably watching this in two places. So make sure, wherever you're at, wherever you're watching, subscribe. But also make sure you go over to our new channel, Sara Gonzales TX. There it is, and subscribe there as well. We're doing some fun stuff on there in the coming weeks and months, but also we're doing this little experiment, and I can't wait to share the results with you because it really has been incredible to track the funny things that are going on behind the scenes on Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. So just do us a favor. Go ahead and make sure you're subscribed. And by the way, if you haven't yet joined BlazeTV, you can do it. BlazeTV.com/Sara. Use promo code Sara. You'll save $20. That is BlazeTV.com/Sara. We'll be right back. Speaking of all these immigrants who are coming into our country and ruining it, whether legally or illegally, a person whose name is always synonymous with Somali fraud, it seems. Sorry, I guess legally I have to say, like, allegedly. Seems like things are coming back to bite him. Of course, I'm talking about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, you may know him as. Jazz Hands McGee, you may know him as. We just like to call him TT here at Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Well, turns out 4 articles of impeachment have been filed against Governor Tim Walz. Now, I would say if the left wants to constantly impeach Donald Trump over nothing, we should probably impeach all of them over the things that they did that are actually crimes. The 4 articles: 1, violation of oath and office through concealment of fraud. Article 2, oh, by the way, Article 1 is, it includes his failure to address fraud in these Feeding Our Future programs, the Medicaid programs, and allowing the ongoing theft of public funds despite evidence dating back years. There's obviously a paper trail a mile long of all of this fraud. He never addressed it. Article 2, interference with oversight and investigations. So this would be obstructing or interfering with lawful oversight. Allegations of ignoring whistleblowers, delaying the responses to the audits. Remember, we've known this for a long time. The auditors came out and they were like, what is this? Tim Walz is like, I'm too busy doing my jazz hands on the stage to do it. I can't stop. My hands won't stop long enough for me to actually do anything about this. Article 3, prioritizing political considerations over lawful administration. So this part comes into play with the allegation that Walz placed political narratives and considerations above the proper administration of state programs. I had never known a Democrat to do that. This includes failing to disclose known failures and prioritizing image over transparency and accountability in handling fraud scandals. And Article 4, failure to steward public funds. And this is for weakening safeguards and neglecting his duty to protect billions in taxpayer money. I don't know how. Now, the only way in which he gets away with this is that it's Democrat run in Minnesota, and the Democrats just won't ever do this to one of their own. That's the only way, because all of the receipts we've gone over ad nauseum, like the receipts are there that he did all of these things. Why should he not be impeached over it? Now, TT for short, because we're on a very, very friendly first, nickname basis with Tim Walz. So TT says he is dropping out of the next gubernatorial race. Remember, he dropped out. He's like, I'm not running anymore, but it's only to help get to the bottom of what happened. It's just a distraction. It's just a distraction. Okay. Tim Walz is like, I'm dropping out to help get to the bottom of why he was such a facilitator to fraud, I guess.
Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's all the other people who are the problem. It's all the other people. Now, I will say, I just thought that Representative Tim Burchett's analogy of this situation was just chef's kiss, just too perfect to not play.
I think that it needs to be said that Governor Walz needs to step down. Him saying he will stay on to investigate is like O.J. Simpson saying he will investigate the murder of his ex-wife. Just doesn't work out.
Maybe the guy who oversaw all the fraud should not investigate he shouldn't be in charge of it. He shouldn't be in charge of it. It's like an internal investigation. Don't worry, we're investigating ourselves, and we promise you we will tell you what we find. But we can already tell you we have not found any fraud or illegal things being done. Now, obviously, I think Tim Walz should be impeached. I actually like President Trump's idea better, which is that he just needs to be hauled away in handcuffs, which is what he posted on Truth Social. House Whip says evidence from whistleblowers could lead to Walz's indictment, and he should be in cuffs because we are. By the way, can we just? I'm needing some President Trump vibes to Tim Walz. I'm needing some. Could I just get some? Yep. There it is. I love this man so much. That is my president. I love him because there's still more fraud that is being uncovered in Minnesota. It's just never ending. Just from this week, here you go. Minneapolis duo charged with stealing more than $3 million from Medicaid. It's just every day there's a new story about more fraud uncovered in Minnesota. Why is it always happening in Minnesota, Tim? Another one from HUD. Up to $84 million in ineligible assistance during Biden's final year, including $496,000 in improper assistance to 509 dead tenants in Minnesota. Literally every day, I can give you a new headline about more fraud being uncovered in Minnesota. 509 dead tenants are getting nearly $500,000. Up to $84 million in ineligible assistance during Biden's final year. Crazy how that happened. I'm not done. Let me give you another one. Somali couriers took $700 million in cash from Minnesota out of the United States on commercial flights in suitcases. This is according to a Just the News report. In suitcases. Guys, I can't even, I have a travel size powder dry shampoo that I get confiscated from TSA. And these Somalians are literally, in a movie, they're literally carrying suitcases full of cash. You can't even make this up. And the government employees are not well, that seems I don't know. This seems a little strange. Really? I can't take spices to another state without getting all of my shit searched. When my 5-year-old was a baby, I couldn't take I had to pump breast milk. I couldn't take that anywhere without them, they did all these scanners and swiped it with something and ran tests. They're what if this woman who clearly has a baby with her, what if this woman has something weird going on? But the Somalians are carrying literal suitcases full of cash and they're checks out to me. It's fine. By the way, don't get me started on how odd and convenient it is that seemingly the majority of airport workers that I run into actually don't speak our language. In fact, they're like, if they were writing their language, it would be in the squiggles. So I'm pretty sure they're speaking the same language as the Somalians, although I wouldn't know because I don't learn shithole country languages. Just a little weird, a little suspicious. By the way, another thing that's a little suspicious, as I was trying to give you more examples, strangely enough, search for it on Google. Your search, Minnesota fraud, did not match any news results. Actually, there's no news results from Google that shows you Minnesota fraud. I mean, I just gave you all of these recent, but if you're looking for news on Minnesota fraud on Google, you will not find any. It does not match any news results conveniently. Isn't that funny? Isn't that interesting? Now you have Tim Walz and, his cohorts like the brother marrying Ilhan Omar, and I'm sure all of these other Democrats in Minnesota that they're like, it's like so terrible for us that the feds are coming in to investigate all of this billions and billions of dollars in fraud that our poor taxpayers are having to spend for literally nothing. And apparently it's a really bad thing that we're trying to get a handle on that, I guess.
The Treasury Secretary is probing whether any of the money was somehow funneled outside the country. He actually issued new standards. He's going to make it make someone disclose if they receive public assistance when they try to wire money out of the country, and he's lowered the bar for suspicious activity. What is the practical impact of doing that in the community?
It's just creating fear. What they are doing is creating confusion, chaos.
They're creating chaos and confusion for coming in to investigate. It's their fault. If they would just let us get away with all of this, we wouldn't have all of this chaos and confusion. It's the federal government investigating fraud that's the problem, according to the inbred brother marrying Ilhan Omar. It's actually, I'm going to hit you, and when I hit you, I'm going to tell you why it was your fault. If you would have just listened and done what I said, you wouldn't have a bruise, according to the Democrats in Minnesota. Now, you still have Tim Walz trying to obstruct this investigation. He actually didn't give Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent police protection. This is incredible. He did not give our Treasury Secretary police protection when he came to the Minnesota State Capitol.
Tim Walz is a coward. He is a coward. He would not guarantee that the Treasury Secretary of the United States of America would have police protection in the Minnesota State Capitol. He is afraid of what is coming. And he's not going to be able to hide behind this curtain because we will get there.
And as you should, because the moment you have your receipts that he is behind it, get him out of here. In the cuffs. Get him out of here in the cuffs. Okay? On top of that, this guy is so corrupt. All they know how to do is double down on their corruption. He's like, this is actually just MAGA. And MAGA's just coming after me because they're MAGA, and that's what MAGA does. But let me just show you just how corrupt. When we talk about how corrupt Tim Walz is, let me just show you, okay? Just show you Joe Thompson. Okay, Joe Thompson is a U.S. attorney who was appointed by President Trump. He helped uncover the massive amounts of fraud in that state of Minnesota. He was leading the probe. And just last week, I'd like to play for you what Tim Walz thought of this Joe Thompson character.
A U.S. attorney stand up, which was been released by, would have been let go by any other administration, speculating about things with no factual information. That's defamation. That's coming from the U.S. attorney. We are under assault like no other time in our state's history.
Joe Thompson is terrible. I can't stand that guy, says Tim Walz. But now this news developed that the DOJ wants to investigate Becca Good. This is the butch wife of Renee Good, who, of course, was shot by ICE after she tried to run them over. They want to investigate, the DOJ, their potential ties to leftist activist groups. And now we have this headline, 6 prosecutors quit actually, over this push to investigate the ICE shooting victim's widow, because you can't investigate someone after their wife tries to run ICE over and F's around and finds out. I guess you're not allowed to do that. Well, it turns out Joe Thompson was one of the people who resigned in protest of this investigation. Joe Thompson wouldn't go along with it. He wouldn't go along with it. And so now that Joe Thompson has resigned in protest, Tampon Tim, all of a sudden, has a statement about that. Joe, as it turns out, is now a principled public servant who spent more than a decade achieving justice for Minnesotans, and his resign is a huge loss for the state of Minnesota. It's also the latest sign Trump is pushing nonpartisan career professionals out of the Justice Department, replacing them with his sycophants. But the guy was appointed by Trump, and he just resigned. I don't. Okay. Now, I'd like to end with Tim Walz panicking. And apparently his defense mechanism when he panics is to act like a tough guy, which I don't know. I'm going to play this. You tell me if this is working out well for him.
And expect for the next 11 months for me to ride you like you've never been ridden.
Whoa. What? Whoa. I think okay. I guess the rumors are true. Thank you for addressing all of the rumors. We were all wondering, Tim. Now we know, and we know you're not a bottom. President Trump, what say you? I thought so too. I agree. President. Thank you. All right, we've got more to come. We'll be right back. I want to go back to Minnesota for a second before I'm joined by a guest. I just can't stress enough. These people are psychotic, okay? We watched what happened over in Minneapolis, and these people are still making these videos, like protesting. She's shaving her head. Okay, she's like, we saw Renee Cook get brutally gunned down by ICE. ICE has shot at least 3 other people before this, and countless others have suffered and disappeared because of them. I'm sick of feeling helpless and like there's nothing I can do. So here's my peaceful protest. What is that doing? I don't understand why shaving your head is your protest. That's doing literally nothing. There actually is a form of peaceful protest you can do. That's weird, unhinged, psychotic. Also, you guys may be thinking, if you're listening to this on audio podcast and you don't see what we've circled, you may be thinking, Sarah, you said the wrong thing. You said Renee Cook get brutally gunned down by ICE. Her name is Renee Good. I know. It's just that this woman is so retarded. She doesn't even know what she's shaving her head for a woman that does not exist. Well, actually, Renee Cook probably exists, but that's not the woman who was shot by ICE after she tried to run them over. It's Renee Good. This dumbass is shaving her own head over someone whose name she doesn't even know. And by the way, for anyone who still says that the ICE agent didn't get hit with Renee Good's car, or is it Renee Cook? He was actually struck by the vehicle and suffered internal bleeding to his torso, according to DHS. But please keep shaving your heads so we know who all the Looney Tunes are. It's actually a very good indicator. I know you guys are like, the red hat is the indicator. No, the shaving of the head is the indicator, all right? You're not going to want to miss my next guest when we return. Stay tuned. Something that I try to talk about as often as possible is that we really need to be sounding the alarm that Muslims are trying to take over this country. That's not conspiracy theory. That's not, just like I don't know. It's just my opinion. No, they're actually saying it very loudly and proudly.
Islam's coming to America. Islam's coming to America? Yeah, it's coming. Wait, is this going to be one day America will become a Muslim state, a Muslim country. Our goal is to make America Islam.
They're like, right there, right in front of your face, saying all of the quiet parts out loud. But there are a lot more seemingly benign ways that they are infiltrating America to just sort of create this society that's perfect for them, like something you wouldn't expect, are food. I want to welcome back to the program Peter McIlvenna. He is host of the Hearts of Oak podcast and former campaign manager for the UK Independence Party. Thank you for being here.
Always good to join you.
By the way, yeah, I'm happy that you are you're back in the country, and I think that your expertise in this is so valuable. And I want to get to what's happening in the UK, but I want to first talk about one of your latest pieces, which is how long before a Texan steak becomes a halal falafel burger. And it sort of explains the risks of allowing halal to become so widespread, because that's part of this. It's not just a takeover of population. It's a takeover of our needs, our land, our food, and to create this society that's like, oh, we just already have created all of these little different parts of this that are perfect for us, so that when we conquer you, which is what their point is, we already have our halal food.
Yeah, I just thought I'd have some fun with that title.
Yeah, it's a good one, by the way.
Didn't make Texans think. I wish we had those titles back in the UK back in the day. But no, the halal food market is a huge thing. It's something like 2.2 trillion globally and going to hit 4.5 trillion within about 8 years, 2033, growing at nearly 10% a year. And here in Texas, the big hotspots for halal food are Houston and Dallas, growing around 22% a year. And it kind of goes unnoticed, and I call it economic jihad, because it is using the levers of power to Islam in all areas of society. And Islam is very smart as an ideology, because we kind of sit back as Christians and we say we vacate the public space, and as long as we can have our churches, we are all good. As long as we have our midweek meeting or Bible study, can meet on a Sunday. Is that really all we want? And you go back in history and you see how Christians changed society, impacted with schooling, with education, with healthcare, everything. They impacted society, and Islam is kind of doing what Christianity really did in many parts of the West. It is using halal food, so the food market, gaining control of that. When's the last time you had a Christian say, this halal, that's Islamic, we need Christian food?
Right.
No, because it's not a prime requisite of our faith to demand your food. So you've got halal food, but then all the other areas, the finance, Sharia finance, you've got the education. We in the UK have a madrasa attached to every mosque, and that is a religious seminary for kids. So they're doing 15 hours a week. And we wonder why we are in such a situation when we have Sunday schools, which are an hour a week, which are childcare.
Yeah.
And they are full on indoctrinating children right under our noses, and we aren't aware of it. But halal food is something it's not hidden away. Sharia finance is more hidden. The schooling can be more hidden. The demographics isn't, because if you go in areas you can see physically the women covered head to foot. But it is the halal food, because you go and you walk down a high street. I know I walk down high streets, any high street in London, and you see the little sticker on the window. Often it's clear. You don't even recognize it. And you go in and you realize it's all halal. Whether it's the big chains, KFC, a lot of them are halal. Whether it's pizza places, whether it's just fast food takeaways in terms of Indian or Chinese. And because the demand is there from Muslims, where Christians don't reciprocate with a similar demand for what we want, and we just accept it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's gone largely unnoticed by people, because they just think I think that they think of it as like, oh, well, same thing as gluten-free, right? It's like, oh, halal, oh, gluten-free, oh, non-GMO. And in actuality, it is really just kind of a virtue signal sticker to all Islamic people that this is food for you. I don't think that people realize that.
No, and finance is done the same way. Finance is done in terms of development, in terms of green, in terms of progressive. And the same with the food. We're told that halal food is ethical. When you look at the process of how an animal is killed, generally not stunned, slit throat, hung up and bled, that's not really ethical.
Right.
And yet the halal process takes it from the moment of certification, and no one's looking at the certification agencies in this country, as they haven't done in the UK, all the way through to the customer having it on their plate. And that whole process is fully controlled by Islamic organizations. So it means that I can't go and decide I'm going to work in an abattoir and go and kill the birds or the cows, whatever that process, or the packing process, or the cooking process, or the storage process. That is all Islamic. And therefore, this is step by step, taking over sections of society. I think Frank Gaffney talks about it as being Sharia supremacist, and it's about supremacy. It's about putting your foot in an area that is now ours, and then we'll take it step by step. And because of multiculturalism, because of diversity, because of all of that, because of the fear of offence, we've given this over. And that's where we are in the UK. You are far behind, but you're trying to catch up with us in the UK. That's what worries me.
Yeah, I know. And I don't want to catch up with you guys on that. No offense, I really like you. I don't want to catch up with you on that. I want to be far, far behind you on that. So going back to the halal thing, because I think it is an important thing to bring up, that it's not only what Islam is all about, but it also seems very cruel to the animals. Do you know, like, where is PETA on this? Because I would expect that PETA, like, I can't eat a steak without them bothering me. I would expect that they would be all over this if they care about the animals.
You would expect, and this is the red-green axis, the unholy alliance between Islam and the left. And it comes up in this topic where you would think organizations would be falling over themselves to actually stand up for the poor animal and how it's treated. And yet there's utter silence. And that fits into the general, I know, UK thinking, European thinking, which is, you don't want to offend. It's utter fear of offence. And then you realise that if you do offend Islamic ideas, there often is a violent backlash. Right. I was just speaking on Friday, got to speak for a few minutes. On Saturday, I got to speak in LA. Gert Fielders was there, along with Glenn Beck, hello, Steve Bannon. But Gert Fielders doesn't stay anywhere for more than 2 days because his security, because protection, because he critiques the religion of peace. And that reverberates through every area. You don't want to criticize, and if you criticize, of course, you have labels, racism, Islamophobia, and that shuts down debate. But we see that every area, and this is just one of the areas. But it's that little word offence. And I don't really get offended easily. I'm sure you don't really get offended easily. You don't take things personally. But Islam as an idea, it actually does take it personally and responds often violently in many ways.
Which it does seem like if you're criticizing you want to call it a religion, an ideology, an industry, whatever you want to call it, if you criticize that and the backlash that you get is violence, I feel like it's like you're probably on the right track criticizing that, because that's not an appropriate response. But obviously I think the average person, someone with common sense would go, oh, well, then we should ban halal. If it's cruel to the animal and it would also solve that problem, we should ban it. But we were talking off air last time you were here, and you said that, well, that's a lot easier said than done because of the financial stronghold that industry has.
Oh, it is. It's very difficult. You have the finance, and you have, because it's economic jihad, countries want to have a slice of the pie. They want to be part of this. So the UK, under David Cameron in 2010, led the push for Sharia-compliant finance in the UK. And he wanted the UK to be the dominant, and it now is outside the Middle East, the dominant force for Sharia-compliant finance, whether it's mortgages or bonds or anywhere. And the food industry is similar. You can't move it as quickly as you can finance, which is electronic. But it's the same idea that you want a chunk of this pie, and we find countries racing to basically capture the market. With finance, certainly, the rush is on for halal. As I give the figures, it's 2.2, 2.3 trillion now.
Wow.
That is a hell of a big market.
Yeah.
And if that is going to go at 10% a year, why shouldn't you, as a business, be part of that? And say your Muslim prayers, bow down to whoever, if it's about the bottom line. That's the difficulty. So when you come up against this and say, this is wrong, but the flip side is, well, we want to make money, then how do you push back on that? It's really difficult in a Western system trying to combat this.
Yeah. You mentioned that we are a little far behind, but we're somehow it's the suicidal empathy thing, and we're trying to catch up to you. I guess my last question to you is it too late to stop this from happening? What's happening in the UK? Is it too late to stop it from happening here in America?
If I thought it was too late, I would not be sitting here with you, Sarah.
Great.
I would
That's
not
a relief.
have been in at that fantastic event on Friday. I would not have written and done, I think, 26, 27 media hits and news articles since the last time I was here with you back in November. And so you've got that. I think it's possible to actually win this fight. I don't know what's going to happen in Europe. Yeah. My two words are "but God." That's literally where Europe are at. Here, you've got the chance because you've got a stronger church, because of your constitution, because of your identity, which you still have. We've lost that in Europe. Yeah. You still have a strong identity around faith, flag, family. You know what it means to be an American. Talk to a European. What does it mean to be European? Who knows?
Right.
It doesn't mean go to your local mosque, because parts of Europe are like that. So I think because you've got your national identity, you have not lost that. And the fight seems to be there. And I think churches are also much bolder than they are in the UK. And I know you may say, oh, I don't know. But actually, when you come from a UK understanding, you come here and you do see boldness and energy and engagement in the political process for many churches. And I think we need a similar push, not in the political get out the vote, but actually in combating this on the Islam side. Because the only way you're going to win this is if the church takes a line against this, because it's a spiritual battle. Yeah. It's spiritual war. Yes. You can't win this by legislation. Yes. You can hold the line through legislation, sure, but into the void which we have in the UK that the church has left, Islam has gone in. And I think here the church is still holding that line, and it needs to grasp this as a baton and run with it. And if it does that, educate the congregation, equip them, then I think, of course, we can win the battle here. And if you win it here, then maybe you might actually look across the pond and give us some support. As you've done on our free speech issue, you might actually give us some assistance in winning the battle across the Atlantic.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate your perspective. It is just so valuable because of your experience over in the UK. And I hope that our leaders take your advice before it's too late. Peter, tell everyone where they can find you.
At Hearts of Oak UK on X and at Hearts of Oak everywhere else. We stream Monday, Thursday and Saturday on all our channels. We also stream on War Room, Steve Ann's War Room. We do Naomi Wolf's Daily Clout. We Ex-American News, lots of places.
This is a very busy guy. You're very busy, so I appreciate your time. Peter McIlvenna, thank you so much. And that's it for us. We will see you guys tomorrow.